Welcome to episode 1, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned.
We're here.
For those of you that are just joining us, we are actually Kristen and Brett. We're Orlando local theme park enthusiasts, if you will. You can find us across all social media at the Schmoofs, and you can follow Brett directly on Twitter at Schmoofy. Together we have over actually about 20 years experience in hospitality and the themed entertainment industry. And we're here to talk, share, and probably argue about all things theme park.
And then some. Emphasis on the argue because it's going to happen.
Well, especially today. So our goal for today, if you guys have listened to our intro, you'll probably have heard that I am a West Coaster, West Coast born and raised. While Brett here...
I'm from the East Coast. I'm from the Northeast, up where it snows 300 days of the year.
Ew.
Well, I guess not that much. It's pretty bad, though. It's cold up there.
So with that, we grew up with very different park experiences, particularly when we talk about Disney parks. I grew up as very close to Southern California, so I was a Disneyland goer, hardcore. We were annual pass holders most of my childhood, actually all of it that I can remember. My first trip to Disneyland, I was about 6 months old, and we went multiple times a year. It was very easy. I was born and raised in Mesa, Arizona, and we moved to Seattle when I was in high school. So it was a very easy trip, regardless of which way we went. But both of my parents are actually, as I mentioned, Southern California, born and raised. So we went back a lot. I spent a lot of time in California as a kid, visiting grandparents and staying the summers and going to theme parks. So I have a very heavy Disneyland background.
Well, I mean, you would tell stories about your dad would come home or have a day off or something. He'd be like, hey, you guys want to go get corn dogs? And you'd travel from Arizona to go get corn dogs.
Yeah, so we'd have my dad's favorite thing in the world is Disneyland hand-dipped corn dogs. Like, hardcore favorite thing in the world. And when we were doing Disneyland trips growing up, my parents wouldn't tell us in advance. It would just be my dad coming in to wake us up at like 6 a.m, being like, I want a corn dog. We'd pile into the minivan, drive the 5 hours to Disneyland, and we'd be there for lunch and get corn dogs. And that was life.
Yeah, that's totally different than my experience. I didn't get to a Disney park until I was 9 years old. 1999. I'm so old now. It's crazy. I just turned 30. Help. But we did one trip a year for the most part until I moved down here in 2011. I didn't visit Disneyland until Kristen and I were dating.
Yeah.
When was my first trip there? 2012? 2013?
13. It would have been 13.
Which is, it's wild to me because I feel like I know Disneyland like the back of my hand at this point because we've been there so many times, but...
If I don't go to Disneyland every 6 months, I feel like I'm having withdrawal. This year has been particularly hard because our last trip was actually May to June of 2019 for Galaxy's Edge opening. And we were planning to go again
for the holiday season last
year. That obviously is not happening here in the wonderful year of 2020. But yeah, so you've been a lot.
Yeah.
Since that first trip in 2013.
That's cool. We've done some really cool stuff at Disneyland, but I mean, my hometown parks, I'm in East Coast, I'm born and raised. The Walt Disney World parks are my parks. So in our experiences coming to Walt Disney World was very much a full-on vacation type deal. There wasn't a 6 a.m. wake up, we're going to get corn dogs, let's go! It was more of a fully fledged out, thought about week-long vacation with the dining plan, with the Disney Hotel Resort, with theme park tickets and full itinerary printed out and ready to roll like we were hitting the ground running. It was a vacation. It was a full Disney vacation. This is also back before the internet was really a thing, or before there was a lot of the websites that help out, like touring plans. This was just vacation for us.
You also had a couple other things which I found very interesting that I would equate to part of your Disney World experience, but Virtual Magic Kingdom.
Oh yeah, I was big into you guys might remember VMK, Virtual Magic Kingdom. I was big into that game. Actually, there's a bunch of people on my Twitter feed who I still know from VMK. It's weird.
But I feel like, do you think that would correlate to your Disney World experience? Or is that kind of like, you only came once a year, but you were doing VMK, so it kind of still counted? I feel like should count.
VMK was weird because it was more about the mini games and keeping up with the Disney lingo and a lot of just the community aspect to it. It wasn't so much hey, I'm in a virtual version of Magic Kingdom. It was more of, talking and getting to know people, and everybody knew each other. It was a nice community. I think what more related to my Disney fandom is being closer to a few regional parks in Pennsylvania. I grew up right outside of Knoebels Amusement Resort. It is a free admission, free parking, free entertainment venue that still uses paper tickets to board the rides. Like, it is a step back in time.
It was my first visit to Knoebels was probably as disorienting to me as your first visit to Disneyland was to you.
Yeah.
It still rocks my world every time we go because it just makes no sense to me. I love it, but it makes no sense.
It's wild. But the Knoebels family, they take great care of their park. They upkeep it well. They build a lot of the wood and awnings and facilities by hand. And they maintain a very safe and clean atmosphere. And it kind of relates back to going to Disney too, because Disney is, of course, that very safe and clean atmosphere. So it was nice to have something in my backyard that felt very much the same. That wasn't like Coney Island in New York City, which is a stark contrast to all of that. But we visited Knoebels many times. We went to Hershey Park, is very close to us. We have another park called Dorney Park, which is the Cedar Fair branch of things. So I have all these aspects of how I imagine an amusement or theme park should be in my backyard. And now I've been living in Orlando for 10 years.
Yeah, and Orlando kind of, but I would say that the Disney kind of would blow those out of the water though, right?
It does.
So you had those regional parks, but that once a year trip to Disney World was kind of the moment.
The first trip to Disney in 99 was kind of like the tip of the iceberg. It was the definite breaking point that was like Knoebels is good, but Disney. And at that point we came here, the brand new thing was Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. Doug live on stage. They just redid Countdown to Extinction to Dinosaur, I think, at that point. I mean, there was a whole bunch of stuff that was just brand new, and I thought was some of the coolest things that I've ever seen in my life. Like, you talk about childhood obsessions of people. Like, I had to go home and I would write, back in like 3rd and 4th grade and stuff, every assignment for essay or for writing or talking about something, everything was Disney related. I couldn't get enough of it.
Oh my gosh, mine was the same way though.
Yeah.
Like I did multiple projects on just Disney stuff, and like kids in my high school would comment because I'd wear like Disney sweatshirts all the time because that's what I had. Like that was just my wardrobe. It was a normal thing. But I remember like I did projects on like how Walt Disney pioneered the hub and spoke design pattern for theme parks and how that kind of evolved and how Disneyland is considered the first theme park versus amusement parks. It was a reigning part of my childhood.
Yeah.
But I also think it's funny because I would consider you the Disney World person of the two of us.
Oh, absolutely.
But I was here before you.
Yeah, you were.
My first trip was in 1998. I remember because Animal Kingdom had just opened and it was the coolest thing in the world. You got all the stuff that said 1998, da 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 da. I didn't come again after that until like maybe 2013. I couldn't have. No, not 2013. What am I talking about? I started working here in 2010. Meh. I think it was like 2007.
So it was a big.
It was a big gap, and then I only had the 2 trips as vacation before coming to Orlando to work. And I feel like that's a very different experience. So I have an appreciation. This is what we talk about a lot. You have an appreciation for Disney World as a guest and as a vacationer because of the trips that you had growing up. For me, it's much more related to work experience because I am a former cast member. We haven't really talked about that a great deal, but I worked for about a decade with Disney in a variety of capacities here in Orlando. But I started in 2010, and that was a very, like, that was just the way that it became for me. Disney World has always been work. It's always been, I love it for that aspect. I love all of the parts of the park, but I think I have a very different appreciation for East Coast to West Coast. Because when we talk about going on vacation, like Disneyland is vacation for me. I never want to work there. I never want to have it spoiled on me. The fact that you can go walk down Main Street still and see the tiny castle at the end, but no, like that's where Walt Disney walked, or that's where these amazing legacies of this company walked. It's a great thing for me. But I'm also much more, I think because I'm a West Coast person, I have a greater appreciation for not just parks, but for the company itself. So like, I'm a Disney movie buff. I love Disney trivia. I am the worst to go against when it comes to Disney trivia or anything like that. And
particularly movies, like all those the old live action, the old animated and stuff. Kristen's all over that.
Oh, I will fully admit obsession, but it tied in for me. Like it just, the parks, the love of the parks, the love of movies, the love of Disney as a whole was kind of what was ingrained for me. As opposed to like you as a Disney World person, it's much more theme parks, and you've grown out with the theme park thing, where it's not just Disney or Universal. Like, I don't know if you guys have followed Brett on Twitter, but if you don't know what RMC is, that is a company that Brett is in love with.
So, like Kristen said, my obsession with the theme parks and amusement parks and stuff, it stemmed from an early age of seeing ways it could be done in so many different ways. Like I said, the 3 parks I visited are all very different, and then Disney was just icing on the cake of everything else that could possibly be done. Like, how could it be better? And I'll be the first person to admit that I was a pixie duster for a while. It was Disney can do no wrong. Disney's the best.
Is that what pixie duster means?
Pixie duster, yeah.
Oh.
That's pixie duster, yeah.
No.
It's the Disney can do no wrong crowd.
Weird.
Yeah. You'll see them on like, and I did this. I openly admit I did this, and I made a few enemies back in early Twitter days, back when Diagon Alley opened for Universal for Harry Potter. I was just lampooning it to no end, saying how bad it is, how stupid it is. Nobody likes Harry Potter.
Wait, Diagon Alley or Hogsmeade?
Diagon Alley.
You guys can't see me, but the look I'm giving him right now is pretty, like, how could you say that?
Well, I mean, so I wasn't a Harry Potter fan. I wasn't a Universal fan. We had our annual passes at that point, but it was just like a side gig. It wasn't Disney. They couldn't possibly do anything as good as Disney. And I went after a few people, and I know I did, and they still have me blocked. And I'm sorry, guys. I've learned from my pixie dusting mistakes.
He's seen the error of his ways, and by that I mean he's probably been forced to at this point. Because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I'm a big Universal fan. And I forced it upon you.
I mean, I enjoy the parks, though. I enjoy them for what they can offer me. Like, the brand new stuff at Universal is great. The Bourne Stuntacular is absolutely the best show in Orlando.
I wouldn't know.
Kristen still has yet to see the show without it breaking down midway. We'll eventually fix that.
We try every time. And it's not like we haven't tried at a variety of times of day, variety of days. It's just never worked.
There's always been something gone wrong.
But I have really bad luck sometimes when it comes to that. It's hilarious. Disney rides, I have great luck. Like, I've never actually been evac'd. Maybe once.
We got evac'd off Frozen Ever After one time.
Oh, we did?
Yep.
That was my first evac. I remember that. It's been my only evac.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say in over a decade of going to Disney parks. But I have really bad luck with Universal rides. Like them breaking down. I had to get evac from the Mummy after it moved a foot out of the station once.
Well, that's fun. I've gotten evac'd off Forbidden Journey numerous times.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, just seeing, like Disney just opened up Rise of the Resistance, and they just opened up Runaway Railway. They'll be opening up Ratatouille, and they're using these trackless ride vehicles, and we see it over at SeaWorld. SeaWorld used trackless ride vehicles as well. So it's not just you think Runaway Railway is good because it's trackless. It's like, no, I think it's good because it's actually a good ride. Like, we've seen Antarctica, Empire of the Penguin. We've seen the misuse.
Puck is a penguin.
Puck's a penguin. Puck is a penguin. We've seen the misuse of the technology. They have such a great idea, and then the technology for the ride vehicle just gets misused. With Runaway Railway, it just adds to the experience.
I don't think it's misused. I feel like that's a sad thing to say. I feel like the goal of that entire attraction is to get you to the exhibit, as opposed to the goal of Runaway Railway is to be an attraction. That's a very different concept.
Yeah, but it kind of gets the well-rounded nature of seeing different technologies and how they can be used, like Universal with the Kong versus Supercharged.
But that's something I think is very interesting, and it has to be with the way that your park upbringing has been. You look a lot at those things. You look at how is this ride system being used, as opposed to me where I'm looking at, okay, overall story, how are we getting that?
And it comes back to being obsessed with Imagineering growing up too. And I remember reading in a book a long time ago is that Disney had the story first, and then they would build the ride system based off the story. It wasn't just we have this ride system, what kind of story could we fit around it? It was the other way around. So with a few other locations, let's just say Universal, let's throw it out there. They have the Spider-Man scoop ride technology, this amazing 4D adventure technology. Then they're like, okay, cool, we can put Transformers on that too. And now with Universal Beijing, they're like, okay, cool, we can put Jurassic Park on that too.
Don't say that you're not excited for any of those things.
I'm super excited for it. It looks amazing. But it's a very different, just a different upbringing, a different mindset. And growing up here too, for Walt Disney World at least, I mean, the full-fledged vacation. I mean, it's always been batting heads between Universal and Disney. And I know people are always, saying that they're competing against each other. They're not.
It's not true. Disney brings people in. And when people come to Disney, they're going to go to Universal. They're going to spend a day or two at Universal.
Absolutely. Especially since all the Harry Potter stuff.
Of course. And then when you look at when Universal brings people in, those people are going to leave the Universal Resort for a day or two and come do Disney. That's the way it is. It's not a competitive thing. Yeah, they're both theme parks, but to be honest, there's a ton of them here in Orlando that people are coming to do. It's the tourism capital for a reason.
There's a lot to do in Orlando. There's a lot to do right outside here that this isn't just a day trip out for some people. Like, we're going to travel down from Georgia to go to Orlando for the day. No. This is a fully fledged vacation experience. They called Walt Disney World the vacation kingdom of the world for a reason.
And I think that that's very interesting because I'm used to a very different park experience. Going into kind of, again, theme parks were not necessarily like the full-fledged vacation for us. Obviously, we were on vacations, but we were also there for just weekends. So I have a much more casual look at how to do theme parks, where I'm still overwhelmed here in Orlando at times with the way that it is the theme park destination of the world. And you have people from everywhere here. Sometimes the crowds are, even now with changes due to COVID, it's a bit overwhelming for me. Or you have people that this is their once in a lifetime. Like, they're coming here they've saved and saved and saved and saved and saved. They're coming here for that one experience, and this is all they're going to get. And that's, for me, it's overwhelming to think of all the things that you need to try and fit into that one vacation.
It's a lot.
I'm grateful for having the opportunity to be here and be the annual pass holder and be able to go as normal without having to worry about doing all that stuff. Because, that's pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure I don't like in my theme parks, guys.
But it is a fully fledged vacation here at Walt Disney World. And I mean, in the nicest way possible, a lot of people, especially middle class America, they've been coming to Disney World since the 70s. And this has been the vacation. This has been the vacation spot. Not just the theme parks, but just like doing water sports or stuff at the hotels. Like, there's always been something to do for a vacation. And people have always been on like I don't want to say like a budget, but like within their means, living within their means type vacation. And I still feel it's that way, even though Disney is trying to squeeze every penny they can out of people. I still think people are trying to come here on a budget and do it as cheap as possible. And I don't have a problem with that at all.
I think there are options within Disney to do that.
There are. And people are still doing it. But when I look at Disneyland, I see a very drastic clientele change. It almost feels like it's so close to Hollywood and LA that it's more going there as like a status symbol instead of a vacation.
Oh, 100%. It's not just that. It's when you're bored, what do? Here, or in most places that don't have a theme park, you go to Target, you go to the mall, you go to somewhere that's a social place where you can kind of meander, look, window shop, spend time. Disneyland is very much that of Southern California. It's caters to pass holders more than anything. It's much more relaxed. People will go in to do one thing or grab a meal at the Carnation Cafe or the Plaza.
And they'll just leave.
And that's it. And that's very much I translate that to my Disney World. That's how I do Disney World too. But
that's how us as locals, we do it over here now. I mean, we talked, actually earlier today, we talked about going over to Animal Kingdom just to ride Everest at the end of the night.
Turns out they closed at 5, so that didn't happen.
No, it did not. But that was an active discussion. Both of us were like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That sounds fun. That's the same kind of Disneyland mindset. But trying to wrap my head around that, if I told 15-year-old Brett back in 2005 that at one point he'd be just like, oh yeah, we can just go ride Space Mountain one day and then leave, he'd be like, what?
And I feel like I will take credit for that. I do, because you were even like that. You weren't like that even when we started dating or when we first got together. You were still when you went to the park, you were doing everything.
Yeah, and it's still it's exhausting. Even just thinking about that right now, I'm just like, oh, I can't even imagine trying to get up and go to Magic Kingdom early in the morning to ride Astro Orbiter and Buzz in space and do the People Mover and Dumbo and Teacups, and it just sounds overwhelming and exhausting, and I don't know why people want to spend their money to come down and do this all on a vacation, because it's exhausting.
But they have to.
It's like a rite of passage. It's like everybody's been to Disney World once.
Not everybody, but lots of people.
But is that how it is anymore? Do people talk about Disney World as the
No, we are not the people to judge that. We have no idea.
I have no idea. Maybe somebody else can tell me. Is it because it used to be oh, have you been to Disney World? But I think that was just an East Coast thing. Because nobody on the East Coast, very few people, example, I have relatives that live up in New York, and their first trip out to Disneyland was in 2005 for the 50th anniversary. And they came back and they said that it was very enjoyable, but it was very small and there wasn't a lot to do. And I think that's the exact opposite about how I feel about Disneyland. But they still come to Disney World numerous times throughout the year, and they love it here. They can't get enough of it. But they were like, whatever about Disneyland.
Yeah, but I think that you have a different going into it. I could see how someone going there without someone who was a local could have a very different experience.
The Disneyland blew my mind walking into it, though. They had the gas lanterns on Main Street. I mean, how could you not just be like, all right, this place is amazing? Pirates of the Caribbean lasts about 2 hours. You sit on that boat.
Dude, we are going to stay tuned. We're going to have an episode talking about comparing pirates, because I fully stand on this one. My Pirates is better than your Pirates.
I'll admit that, but I will defend my Pirates to the death.
But it is very different, because I remember our friend Tracy has gone to Disneyland with us a great deal. And when I say I'm a Disneyland local, I mean, I have the tips, tricks, all of it when it comes to those parks. And that's just as anyone would growing up and going there.
You have it all. You have the stories to match it too. It's not just like, oh, I heard this. It's more like, we did this and we accomplished this.
But it was funny because she actually ended up going without us, and without me in particular. And she's like, I had a really different experience going on my own and not having you there to do these things. So I don't know if it was just because you were with someone who does know Disneyland that way that you were able to have that moment, or what.
Well, I had to learn Disney World. Our first trip here, Animal Kingdom was brand new. And then every year after year after year, I mean, I can tell you my nose is buried in the Birnbaum's Disney World vacation books every year and the kids' books every year. And we knew what we were doing. And whenever there was an update to the books, we'd be on it. When I first got online, the WW Magic forums, shout out to Steve. I mean, running those forums forever, man. That was a window into this world that I can only experience once, maybe a year.
I still get so confused by that. I just don't have an understanding of the online Disney world, if you will. I have a heart, like, which is weird because we've met amazing people. We've met a great deal of bloggers. I'm sure you guys, if you've seen our social media or followed Brett, I'm sure you know that we have quite a few friends who run blogs or work for blogs. And
these are people we've just met through Twitter, through social media. And it's always been like, hey, I met this person, or hey, I'm in the park and somebody says hi. Then it's like, oh, did you meet this person, or do you know this person? And it's such a small world.
It's crazy to me how big the Disney World online community is. Whether it's for tools on making your trip, or discussions, or the latest thing that's going on, or any of that stuff. I don't remember doing any of that when it comes to Disneyland. It's never been a thing. And I know my dad has looked at online stuff,
but I feel
at least recently, but I had no idea. It was never a big part of my park experience. But I feel like it was a big part of yours, and it continues to be a big part of your park experience.
Absolutely. And I feel that Disneyland is kind of like inherited tips and tricks, though, too. Because you take your kids, and your kids grow up there, and then your kids inherit those tips and tricks and those...
And then they bring as many friends as possible.
Absolutely. But you kind of like those tips and tricks on the ways you do the park and the ways that you experience and make memories it's generation after generation. It's what you do at Disneyland. At Disney World, I mean, things change all the time. And unless you're totally caught up on what's going on around Walt Disney World, you're going to be really, really upset. Like, did you know Crystal Palace just reopened?
I did, yes. Yeah. But that's because you told me 2 days ago.
Exactly. Did you know that Spice Road Table just reopened?
I did. But again, you told me 2 days ago.
Yeah.
This is where I get my news. Brett finds it on the internet, and then I get it from Brett, and then Brett forgets he tells me, so I get to hear the news over and over and over again. It's like it's the daily news.
Yeah. Yeah, again and again and again. Newsflash, did you hear? Unless you know what's going on at Walt Disney World by constantly just having your nose around the news or refreshing a blog every couple days, it's very difficult to, I want to say, plan a vacation at this point. And I think that's part of the reason why they were so dead set on getting My Disney Experience out and fast passes and pushing everything to the mobile app so that you can see in your hand on the fly what's going on.
But I feel like even that, when you look at Disneyland versus Disney World, that is still so different. Here, My Disney Experience is everything.
Yeah. Over at Disneyland, oh my God, mobile order to start.
Mobile order is like, are you kidding? You are the only one that will be mobile ordering if you mobile order at Disneyland.
I don't get it.
If you use MaxPass, if you pay the extra $10 per person to use MaxPass, you will be like the only person doing it. It's so weird.
It's like the Southern Californians love to wait in lines for some reason. Like, we went over there on one of our last visits, we had like a line of like 20 people for a Dole Whip, and I was just like, okay, cool, mobile order, and I walked past the entire line.
Yeah.
And same thing with beer, and I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, there's still...
It's a very different, like, they don't think to have the app out or anything like that, because it's just not part of the culture there. Here, if you are not on your app for everything, then it's considered like you are missing out on something.
If I can shave 10 minutes off the time I waited at Columbia Harbor House, we can spend that time in the Memento Mori gift shop waiting for a Haunted Mansion Fast Pass Plus to come so we can ride the ride. It's like, that's the kind of thinking at Walt Disney World, where at Disneyland it's just kind of, meander, enjoy the company you're with, and just chill.
Go from ride to ride, see what's under 30 minutes, do that ride. Go from ride to ride after that, see what's under 30 minutes. Grab a snack between every single ride, because that's the way to do Disneyland. If you are not eating almost constantly at Disneyland, you are not doing it right.
It's
but that's a topic for another day.
Listen, the Disneyland snacks beat Disney World snacks. I don't care what anybody says.
I'm so excited for this Disneyland versus Disney World topic, because I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of faith in my corner in terms of, I think Disneyland is way better.
Well, Disneyland is better in a lot of regards, but for the overall vacation experience, you can't beat Disney World. You can't. You can't spend a week at Disneyland. Debatable.
No, I will give you that. I will give you that Disney World is meant for like a, it's the week-long vacation destination. Disneyland is not meant to be that, and it never really was. So I guess that I will give that to Disney World. Stay tuned for the next one, because I really want to continue this topic.
Yeah, no, we're going to keep pushing this Disneyland stuff. The Disneyland, Disney World stuff, I mean, we have a bunch of topics planned for Disneyland versus Disney World. Even just picking random attractions out of a hat, like Big Thunder Mountain or Pirates or Haunted Mansion.
Pirates. I want to have this Pirates discussion.
But that's a topic for another day, another, not just an intro, what's better for the vacation destination of the world type deal. Disney World is the pinnacle. This is the vacation destination. Our food here sucks though. Even our table service, we have a lot of table service. That's what Disney World's good for. Disney World is amazing at their table service game. They are amazing at their resort game. I'm a resorts fan. I think that Disney World, they have over 25 different resorts that are each unique in their own magical ways, as corny as that sounds.
I mean, and I will admit, the amount of resort fans that we are is really disturbing. To the fact of looking at like Animal Kingdom Lodge at their Porte-Cochere, they have the concrete is mapped out in a certain way that looks like...
It looks like reticulated giraffe skin.
No, it looks like a Maasai.
I looked up. It's reticulated.
Is it reticulated?
It's reticulated. Because Maasai has the weird, like, kind of like cell splitting type deal on it. It looks weird. It looks like... No, it's weird.
It's a giraffe design. And we definitely had that conversation over text the other day.
Yeah. So and it was just like, hey, did you know? And it's like, no, I had no idea. Awesome. But it's just like the resorts and the stories and stuff here at Walt Disney World. It's stuff that, they've said it before, and I think Walt actually said it himself, is that the blessing is size. It's the size of San Francisco. They have 47 square miles here in Orlando, and they keep buying more land. There's enough land here to tell every story that they could ever want to tell, and then some.
Well, we'll find out. It's definitely going to be an interesting thing to see how it changes. That doesn't change what I think is a better Disney park experience, but that's just a personal preference.
Well, the park experience, Disneyland cannot be beat. It cannot. I mean, you look at our parks here, especially right now, all four are in shambles.
Well,
I mean, Studios is considered almost near complete at this point. With the Rise of Resistance opening, Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land and stuff being done, Studios is in a near final set, almost. And
it's still just such a rough park currently.
I don't really think about going over there. Animal Kingdom, with the addition of Pandora and Rivers of Light, which is now cut and stuff, it was starting to feel like a fully fledged experience. But with COVID and no shows right now, it's so difficult to even call it like the best experience around. Epcot, let's not even discuss Epcot.
Woof.
And then Magic Kingdom is just
Magic Kingdom is Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom is the classic. It's what everyone imagines when they think of coming to a Disney park. So it doesn't change very often, and it can be a little stale because of that. But I just think that it's something that we continue to try and get through. But I think that it's just a very different experience. But I do appreciate kind of how we each grew up going to different parks, and we do have a very different appreciation for theme parks in and of themselves. And let us know as you guys are listening in, like, what parks did you grow up going to? What do you consider the ultimate vacation destination, or what was yours?
Did you come to Disney World earlier than we did? Were you here like growing up as a kid? I know there's a bunch of local Floridians who kind of grew up here going to Disney, and their first trip here was when only Epcot and Magic Kingdom was open, and Studios was the brand new toy when it opened up originally.
There's a whole bunch of things, and we'd love to hear it from you guys. Reach out to us on social media, as we said, at the Schmoofs, or you can reach out to Brett at Schmoofy on Twitter.
If you hit us on Twitter at the Schmoofs or on Instagram or something, we'll find you.
We'll find it.
It'll probably get lost into the ether if you hit me at Schmoofy.
Dude, the amount of things that happen on your Twitter is just so sad.
I have over 8,000 followers at this point. It's intense.
Wow.
Owen Wilson, okay.
Wow. But that's all we have for today, friends. Stay tuned for the next episode. We are very excited. We don't know quite what we'll be talking about just yet, but hopefully it'll be fun.
Yeah. Should be good. Signing out for the night, this is Brett.
And Kristen.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.